You're listening to a CNA podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of the Work It podcast. It's Tiffany and Gerald, your hosts, bringing you answers for questions you're too afraid to ask your manager. And today we're covering one such question. And that question is, boss, when can I be promoted?
Tiffany, is this your pitch to your senior management now?
No, I have decided I don't want to get promoted. But I think every time we get to the performance review stage, I feel like a lot of people want to ask their bosses, like, when is it my turn to get promoted? And if I was promoted last year, when is the next promotion stage? What can I aim for? I'm sure this is a question that you get all the time when you speak to people.
Yes, I think it's not just the clients, but everyone, right? It's like one of the great mysteries of the world. Like, how can I get promoted? I think sometimes we work very hard, but we don't see the promotion. And then we see other people getting the promotion and we feel like they are not working as hard as us. So we don't see the rationale.
It feels like it's not fair.
Yeah, it feels unfair.
Yeah.
I think, and it just becomes more and more mysterious. And then you start to wonder, how should you process all these things?
Yeah.
And as in every corporate setting, the pyramids of jobs, as you get higher, the opportunities to rise gets fewer.
Yes.
Then it becomes even more mysterious.
Yes, because I'm not aiming for the top position, but say I've stayed in a company for 10 years and maybe I've only gotten promoted once, and then you're just wondering to yourself, I cannot see that if I want to work towards a managerial position, there's like maybe 2 people. But in my cohort, there's 15 of us. How do I get there? And not just that, how do I have these conversations without edging out my peers? Because maybe some of them are friends. You also recognize that they're also doing very well in their work.
Yeah, and everybody probably is thinking the same thing. They all want to know how to rise. But is it even right to ask? What should we be looking out for? There are lots of questions on this. So today we're really excited. We have invited an expert on career advancements to answer the question that every employee would think about: how can I get promoted? And if a promotion is long overdue, is it a sign to leave?
Oh, I quit.
So let's welcome Shub Faujdar, founder and chief career coach of JobsMe Singapore. Welcome.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Shub, I always like to start with the personal question. How many times have you asked for a promotion but didn't get one?
Oh, wow. I have been in my business for the last 10 years, so that did not come up. But when I started work, I remember categorically the first time I did not get the promotion was because somebody else needed to be promoted. So there were...
Needed. Okay, let's pick up on that point. I clocked that as well.
So there were 2 of us who were very similar in our roles, in our goals, similar kind of numbers, getting clients, but there was only one promotion opportunity and I did not get that promotion and I was so gutted.
Did they explain to you why?
They said a few things, that I did not work on increasing my presence to senior management. So when the conversation came to, hey, these are the 2 people who need to be promoted, everybody knew the other person, but I wasn't the one who was known by majority of people. So my manager fought really hard. He built the case, told the numbers, but ultimately it was like, okay, she's good, but we don't know her, but we know this person. So let's promote her and maybe Shub can work on her presence and being known, because once you reach a certain level, it's not only your work, but also building relationships, which is important.
So at this point of time, I know that a lot of Singaporeans will be thinking, whoa, okay, there is this term that we like to use, which is the other person is very good at wayanging. The wayang factor is very high, which means this person is very good at putting up a performance. No shade to that person who did it, because that in itself is a skill. But I think that's what I keep hearing when people say, I get passed over for a promotion. And that's because the other person who got the job just knew how to position themselves better.
I totally agree with you. I actually have a formula which I have developed over my years of performance. Your value equals to performance into visibility. And that into is a multiplier. And a lot of us think, I'll do good work, put my head down. That's what we are taught. Even especially in Asia, that's how the mindset is. We've grown in education. You've hit performance, everybody goes to the next level. But that's not how life and career tend to work. It's performance into visibility. And visibility is an invisible part of your job description always. It is your responsibility to let your work be known, because your manager or people who are senior management are not going to come and check on you everything you're doing. So we all need to internalize it, that it's part of the role. And I know people like to give it a negative connotation, politics, favoritism. Switch that frame of thought, reframe it that no, it's my responsibility because it's my career.
That's a very good way to summarize it. I never really thought that it's something that we can crystallize into a sentence. I've seen it happen. Sometimes when I manage upwards, to me, it's all about over-communicating. I'll try to tell my boss, like, okay, this is what I've been doing, or this is what my team has been doing. And I try to make sure that the boss has visibility, not just with what I'm doing, but with what the entire team is doing. Because in my mind, it makes sense, right? It makes our life easier when we over-communicate. But the fact that you were saying that we need to internalize that this is part of our jobs, that we need to show visibility, is saying, how did I achieve this and what my next milestone will be? It's almost helping your boss get to a solution before realizing that there is a problem.
Yes, absolutely. You said something in the introduction that we speak to our bosses in performance review. Performance review is already too late. You have missed the boat by a year. So if you are looking for promotion, you cannot start the conversation at performance reviews.
Okay.
So it has to be consistent, it has to be displayed throughout the whole year, and then at the performance review, it should speak for itself.
Yes, but I think a lot of people are hesitant to make it very crystal clear. They are afraid almost to show their ambition. These discussions happen few months before the performance review, especially in big organizations. The bigger they are, the earlier these conversations need to happen. You've got to get your manager in your team. So you've got to work with whoever your direct supervisor is and ask them, hey, I need your advice. I think I'm ready to go to the next level. What should I be doing from now for the rest of the year to make that happen? So that's one. That reaction from your manager will tell you everything you need to know, whether you're ready, whether they think you're ready, and what you need to do. The second thing is getting the role clear, because you may be ready, but there's no role in the organization. What happens then? And that disheartens a lot of very good performers. So is there even a role? Who do I need to speak to in the HR? And the third thing, where I lost majorly, who are the other stakeholders who will be having this conversation when my promotion is being discussed? Because then you can start reaching out to them, not from, hey, I need a promotion, but, hey, I'm in so-and-so department and I would love to help you meet your business goals. What would you want us to do? So what's in it for them is the most important thing when you're having these conversations.
Because you're saying that these stakeholders will also be at that table when promotions are discussed, because they're all higher management, and all the bosses will basically come together and say, okay, I've got this person I would like to promote, and they will be like, who's that? And then you say, that's Shub. And some other boss from another department might say, hey, I've worked with her on this and she did help my team to get there. I agree. Let's put Shub up for the next promotion lineup.
Absolutely. That's how promotions happen. We like to blame our managers when we don't get promoted, but your manager's biggest responsibility is to guide you what you need to hit and present your case. After that, it's never just your manager's decision. And it's always also there in companies to make sure there's no favoritism and one person liking their team. So is this person building those kind of strategic visibility with the rest of the senior management team? Early in your career, it would be your manager and their peer. But as you progress in your career, it could be regional or even global leadership, which is sitting in a very different location, not seeing you on a day-to-day basis. And how do you build your presence without that happening?
I think you put it so clearly, right, that the ownership is on the employee, on us, to be making ourselves visible throughout. And just now you mentioned about how sometimes people would think of it as like politics or find some reason not to be visible, right? Like for people who say, yeah, I get you, but I can't bring myself to do it.
Yeah. So, look, I love this line from Mark Mason, which says, it's not your fault, but it's still your responsibility. And it applies so well to career. Whether you get promoted or not may not be your fault. You might be doing everything, but it's still your responsibility to bring that visibility. So I get asked this question by introverts quite a bit. I'm introvert. I'm not very comfortable. How do I go about with it? I don't want to go and do these things. So I'm a massive introvert myself, by the way.
I didn't clock you for that.
And I think this is where people think what introvert is. I would need to really go in my den today to recharge because I'm having this conversation. But it doesn't mean I'm shy.
Yeah.
That's a skill. That's something you can learn. It doesn't matter whether you're comfortable with people or not. So again, the world is actually in favor of people who can communicate. We know that. Now, if you're playing any sport and you know the rules of winning the sport, you will learn the rules and play by it. But when it comes to our career, we are like, oh no, I'm not doing it, but I will still complain that I'm not winning. I mean, you know this. Why don't you work on it? Join some organizations where you can practice these things. Speak to people who are senior level. Give yourself these tiny little goals. I always say, don't go from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
0 to 10. My goal is every meeting, I will speak once. Maybe ask a question. That's it. Get somebody to partner with you, somebody you're comfortable with. That, hey, when I'm speaking and if you feel my confidence is going low, just look at me and smile.
Like
and
being my wingman.
Yes, exactly. So you can use that, especially in the beginning of the career. It's so easy to find it. It gets a little bit lonely as you progress further because then the roles are few. Everybody's competing for the same thing.
I think a lot of us, we may think that, okay, the way to get promoted is by the performance, the first part, and then I just work very hard, and then the visibility part, maybe I'll just put that aside for a while. But what we're hearing is you really need to bring both of them together. And it's not wrong to be asking for help, right? To be telling your bosses what you expect and to be looking around you for your colleagues, people to help you to make that visibility come forward.
Yeah.
So I'm also buying the point that it's really a lot on you. If you want this, you got to work on it. If not, then don't blame your managers.
There's also something else that I've heard friends talk about, that when you are too good at your job, it becomes a disadvantage because you are solving all the problems in this role. There's really no need to try and promote you because it'll be harder to find somebody to cover the position you have left vacant.
Yeah.
I know it's a very archaic mindset, and I know a lot of bosses try not to do that. But I think we have to say as well that there are companies that do that, right?
Absolutely. And I have a theory. There's a plateau at 150 to 200K roles when you reach mid-management. So many people spend the rest of their careers stuck here where they get some increment which covers inflation, but they don't go to the next level. And these are the people who are very good executioners, but they are not people who are thinking strategically, who are delegating really well, who show the boss that I can influence people. You know, when I started career, I used to think, my managing partner does nothing. I'm doing everything. She's just sitting there. But now when I'm at senior level, I realize beyond a certain level, your income is basically about taking on the stress of managing people and the stress of managing risk, putting your reputation at that level. And if you can't do these things, like a lot of people don't take risk. They want somebody else to make the decision. You will not go into senior management. You're waiting for somebody to tell you the task list. You will not go into senior management. So this is where a lot of people plateau.
Yeah, this is the very common thing that we say, you're just a performer, but you're not a leader.
Yeah.
As we promote, I guess the responsibilities get more and the risk gets more, right? So you really want someone who's able to step into those shoes. But if you're just so good at doing the work, I think then it also sends a signal to the bosses that you are just happy there. From the other side, from the leadership, from the management, what are some red flags that they would see in someone who wants the promotion but they feel like, I don't think I want to give it to you?
There is a good strategic visibility. There's cringe visibility.
Cringe.
Yeah, the over-communication,
Yes,
is it?
I'm awesome. I did this. Look at me. I.
The peacock.
Exactly. When you are all about you, you're making your manager look bad. It comes across like you are the everything. You're taking credit for your entire team, and that's not what a lot of senior management likes. So when you are doing your visibility, don't chase the spotlight, be the spotlight. Or you are somebody who spotlights problems first. So then the bosses have, okay, this is a trustworthy person. So if one of the biggest red flag is when you're only playing for yourself, because that's not how organizations work. We need people who are doing it for the greater good of the company. The other red flag, of course, would be when you're sabotaging others to go ahead.
Oh, yes.
And it becomes very clear very fast. Because again, career is a team sport. So if you're not good at managing that team, then it would be a red flag for the management. Sometimes people do things like always asking for promotion or threatening that we will leave.
Ah, yes.
That's a big red flag as well, because you can leave, you can be exploring outside, but if you're always threatening to do these things, then they don't work really well. Again, you're showing that you're only in it for yourself. So that's the first principle. Are you in it for the team? And any action which you take which is against that is a red flag.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you said this so clearly. When you said these 3 examples, you start to realize that these behaviors are actually not so good.
Yeah.
It's very self-seeking, and it really makes you feel like you want to support them. But sometimes it's really difficult when these behaviors get rewarded and they get ahead.
Yeah, because sometimes that sort of a self-centered approach, right, can actually be quite invisible for the managers, because I would assume that these people are also good communicators, so they know how to position themselves in a way where they will show only the good side to the managers, and then everything else they can just get the team to do it.
And they're probably really good with managing the stakeholders as well. They're probably doing the same thing with everyone.
Which is why, I mean, now at this point of time, people who are listening will go, yeah, I know someone like that in my team, and that person has leapfrogged maybe 2 times in the last 2 years or something.
And then, but after a while, it becomes very crystal clear because people start leaving. So the second thing which I shared about your ability and the ability to take the stress of managing people, if you're very self-centered, you will not think from the people's perspective. Another red flag which we see from people who are very good communicator is sometimes they become a bit of divas. Now, it could be a negative, like drama queen kind of a thing, but it could also be like thinking too highly about themselves all the time. Maybe you can influence people above you, but you will have the issue of not having continuity in the teams. So it may go under the manager's radar for a while, but if they see there are people who are resigning continuously from one person's team, it comes out. So in the long run, these kind of behaviors do get noticed. But I also agree. I mean, I would have said these things when I was junior, but I've been in this business for very long. Sometimes these people tend to do well. It is the truth of it. We've all experienced it. There's no point denying it. But you choose what works for you and you stick with what your true self is, because you're going to be at work 8 hours every day. So you don't want to be someone else.
So on that note, right, what if someone has been really doing everything that you said?
Trying to be more
right,
visible,
doing
better.
and coupling that with good performance, thinking for the team, and they've done all they can for many years and they're just not being spotted or given the opportunity for promotion. Then would you say that's the right time to leave?
I would say that's a right time to start having your stealth job search.
It is your red flag. Red flag. This company has a red flag. Then stealth.
Exactly.
Go find something else.
I see people in 2 very extreme spectrums. Some people would be like, I'm ready for promotion and I'm looking out and have no internal conversation. Or I see people who are like, I'm ready. The moment there's an opportunity, I will be promoted, and they wait for years. You don't want to be in either of these situations. Whenever you feel you're ready for promotion, that's also a very good time to see how is the market perceiving you, because you may be in a good job, but what if you have something better? And promotions are not so simple. I've had a case of a client very recently. Everything is good. He was told last year in June, you're doing so well. You've set up this entire team on a global scale. Everybody loves you. But the issue is his manager and his skip level manager are all going to be at the same band if he gets the promotion. And they can't promote these people just because he's ready for promotion already.
So what do you do?
My advice to him is have all these conversations internally, but also he's at a level where job search can take 6 to 9 months, a year. You don't want to start your job search when you've been told no multiple times. Do it at the same time. If you get a good opportunity, speak to your manager and maybe they can move things. Who knows? Because sometimes companies need a little bit of a real checker, or you get something better out there. Don't have a very warped sense of loyalty anymore. Companies don't think a moment before firing people in this day and age. So I have this formula for career growth, ABC, which is always be careering. Career is a verb, it's not a noun. You've got to think for yourself, switch off that autopilot and think where you want to go. Are you moving in that direction? Because when we compound it over 40 years, if you are constantly missing promotions, you have missed out on big jumps in your career then.
Yeah, so this is all very good advice. I feel like I'm in a lecture hall. I think this is like one of the very rare times that the listeners will say, well, Tiffany's actually quite quiet. Asking a lot of questions. Because I'm sitting here going, wow, oh,
I see producer also nodding her head away. I think this is it's really good because these are things that we all know somehow and we always wanted to ask, but today we have Shub with us to give us so much insights. I think this should really help us to ABC a lot more. Always be careering.
Yeah. Your insights showing us that this is really an art and also a science. You gave us a formula. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I hope it helps the listener to get promoted or get a better role outside if that's not happening for them.
Hello, and thanks for joining us back on our Ask Me Anything segment. If you have a question that you're struggling with, send it to us. Today, our question was sent in by listener Stefan. Here's what he wrote. I'm stuck next to a colleague who vapes at his desk. He exhales the smoke away from me, but I still feel like it affects my breathing. When I told him about it, he insisted that the smoke is senseless. Many of my colleagues and even my manager vape. So they act like this is normal. My company has a strict policy on this, but I don't want to be the whistleblower because it might make them lose their jobs. What should I do? Yeah, so this is a very relevant conversation that we should be having now. We had a new law that was put in place that vapes will be treated as drug.
I think this is a question that's on everybody's mind. What should I do? Just hearing what Stefan said, the reasons given to him about how the colleagues are justifying the vaping is that it's scentless. That means there's no smell.
There's no smell to it.
But it's not the smell, it's the health concerns. I think that's there. I can imagine Stefan becoming more and more paranoid as he sees the smoke.
Because he's not sure. And it's not that he's not sure. He probably knows as well. The science is telling him that it's likely to affect his health.
Yes. Given the recent developments in how Singapore is going to treat vaping, I think this is something that all workers would probably need to start to voice out. But how do you voice out in a way where it's still seen as harmonious and also collaborative?
Yeah, because I think that's the tricky part. He doesn't want to be the whistleblower.
MOM, they have also advised companies to set policies. So I think it's really helpful if companies make clear their policies about vaping in the workplaces so that it gives employees that empowerment to speak up if they need to or to report if they need to. All right, and also help the vapers to give them more reason to stop this unhealthy habit.
Well, we're assuming that the vapers want to stop. But also, I think that you can have HR policies for sure. And I think that's the easy thing to do. But if I put myself in Stefan's shoes, it's really not easy to tell a colleague who's a friend to say, look, I'd rather you don't vape in front of me. Because you're so close to that person might say, oh, it's nothing. Or they try and vape before you step into the room because they know you feel uncomfortable. But again, like Stefan, I'm wondering, how do you have this conversation with your friend?
I've spoken to a vape user before and I got some tips from a vape user. So I think the important thing here is to communicate and express concern. I think making use of the recent developments to open a conversation about how they feel about this situation, this ruling about the vaping, and whether are they concerned about their health. Coming first across as your concern for their health, because sometimes we don't know what we are vaping at all. Then the second thing, of course, if you sense there's receptivity, then maybe you can also express your own concern for your own health.
Okay. So start with being concerned about their health first, and then if you feel that they are okay about it, then you can talk about your own health concerns.
Yes, I think it makes a lot of sense when we show concern for our colleagues first. And then after, of course, we express what we are truly concerned for ourselves as well.
Yeah. And I think also if nothing changes, obviously you can report to the Health Sciences Authority because they are looking into it. Again, if they are your friends, we don't want to go there. If this is somebody you want to try and get out of your team, then maybe to consider that. I think the other thing I feel that you can also say is that health concerns aside, I really value you as a friend. I really want to continue working with you. And the last thing we want is for you to get caught and then having to face disciplinary measures.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be caught in a position where I might have to report you for whatever reason, or if HR comes down and asks me, can you tell me who has been vaping in your office? I don't want to be put in a position where I have to lie. So appealing to them to see it from your point of view, and then they can decide whether is this something that they still want to continue. If they do, then maybe they don't do it in the office.
Yeah, if the HR guidebooks do have a clause to say that criminal activity could result in dismissals or suspension from work, this is pretty serious. We saw that crackdown at the CBD, right? So imagine people at lunchtime vaping and then after that, they get caught. So this could become some serious conversations, all right? If today you are vaping as well in the workplace, maybe spare a thought for your colleagues as well. Don't put them in a difficult position. Think about your health and maybe consider stopping now.
Yeah. I hope, Stefan, what we've said here gives you maybe some language to approach not just your colleagues, but also your boss as well. See how you can have a chat with them about this. If, like Stefan, you have a work-related question, we're always here. So do send in to us. We're at cnapodcasts@mediacorp.com.sg. Otherwise, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Me Listen, or YouTube, where a video version of this is at. Now, the team behind the Work It podcast is Ho Pei Ning, Junaini Johari, Joanne Chan, Saye Win, Alison Jenner, and Nat Fetalvero. Video by Hanida Amin.
I'm Gerald.
And I'm Tiffany. Here's to a healthier and happier workplace.